I think that there's, oh my God, there's so much in that question that's good, Ronnie. On one hand, there's the perennial debate about urgent versus important, right? Because you could spend your morning through night working on the urgent, and then your job of sort of moving the entire enterprise forward, the important stuff gets you know I don't know, ignored, not ignored because you're doing important urgent things, but constantly deferred. You can't constantly be pushing, kicking the bucket ahead. So you've got to work on the important things. But then the urgent things, the fires get hotter and hotter and hotter, and it's very, very hard. So the way to deal with this is through a word that we all know, but we all sometimes don't do as well as we probably could, which is delegation, right? The more you're able to empower everybody to frankly take care of their business is probably the most important thing. Now, you notice what I said, Rania, and everybody. I said to take care of their business. There was a Harvard Business Review article in 1974. Actually, it was called "Management Time: Who's Got My Monkey?" and it was a seminal article that essentially said this. Um, everybody's got a certain task, and what would happen is one of your subordinates would walk into your office, and I'm paraphrasing, please. It's a great article. You could Google it. It's available on the web. Um, the subordinate would sort of stick their head in your office, and they say, boss, I've got a bit of a challenge. I need some help. And being a good manager, of course, you're there to support your subordinates. So yes, please come in. And that was the first mistake. It's an interruption. Okay, but nevertheless, you're very open. In the person comes and they take that monkey that's on their back and they put it on the table, your table, and they say, well, I've got an issue with this and blah 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 blah. And what do you say? Mistake number two. Okay, just leave that with me. Let me think. I'll get back to you on that. And then what they do is they walk out of the office thoroughly relieved that that monkey is now no longer on their back, but it's on your back, right? And Rania, I see you smiling because perhaps in our shop, the Braintrust Professional Institute, we're thinking, okay, so is Randall describing himself here? Because it may very well be true, right? It is, okay, sadly. Yeah, this is what happens. Okay, all of a sudden that subordinate walks by your office the next day and they say, well, boss, how's it going on that? And what do you say? You say, just give me a couple more days. Now, who's the boss here and who's the subordinate? Usually it should be the other way around, that you're checking on them, not the other way. So I think sometimes in our desire to be helpful, supportive leaders, what we do is we unwittingly take the monkeys that are offered to us, we become the bottlenecks, and all of a sudden your team's problems become your problems. Now, I'm vastly simplifying things because nowadays there's so much that we need to do with respect to working collaboratively and being a coaching leader as opposed to like a top-down kind of leader. Excuse me. But on this particular thing, I think it's important to ask ourselves every day, how many monkeys are we unwittingly adding to our menagerie? How many of them? And I suspect, to the question of time, you'll find it a lot easier to deal with the important, urgent things when all of your time is not dealing with somebody else's monkeys. The reason why you have qualified, hopefully motivated staff is because they can actually do things. And by you getting in the way, I guess, and assuming their responsibilities, you're teaching them some terrible lessons, right? Some of them we talked about, other ones are others, which is, gee, I don't need to do my work because my boss can do it. Gee, if I overload my boss won't bug me about all the other stuff I'm doing. Like, you were training our people in a very negative way. On the other hand, we can train them instead to say, yeah, let me see what I can, let's just talk about this. Maybe we can brainstorm a couple ideas. That way I can make sure that I can help you solve your problem, i.e. the monkey is leaving my office on your back. And then I don't have to worry about it. That sort of gets us to neutral, this monkey on the back business. But what it doesn't do, excuse me, what it doesn't do is it doesn't get us forward. And that's, back again to the question of delegation. And if we're able to properly delegate, that's the way we're able to say, hey, some of the monkeys that I've got, some of my priorities actually are not monkeys in a negative sense, but they're developmental opportunities for the folks who actually work with us. And if we're able to delegate those to our team members, and not every team member is ready to assume the complete responsibility for something. But you know what? That's how we develop them, by giving them the challenge. And once we give them the challenge, then we consider coach them a little bit. But once you've delegated, the problem is theirs. The monkey is theirs, and they'll be happy about it. Why? Because they like to be challenged. They like to prove that they can do things. They don't want to be bored. They want to be engaged. And it's I don't know. I think that's kind of where I am on that one. That's a great first question. Thank you, Ryan.